Morning, everyone. Jim Haggerty. I'm the president of the Regional Better Business Bureau. I want to thank all of you for taking some time out of what we know are really busy schedules to get some information that will hopefully be very helpful to you as you go back to your businesses as well as your personal lives. The program that we're putting on today was planned by our BBB Community Programming Committee. It's made up of professionals who work in fraud detection and cybersecurity. We're really grateful for the support that they provide to us on a regular basis. We've got some amazing sponsors. McKinnis is represented here today. They are our BBB's foundational sponsor. And if you show up at anything that involves Better Business Bureau throughout the year, you know that our friends at McKinnis are standing right behind that work, providing us with some financial support to make all this possible. Also Blue Cross and Blue Shield for offering up this fantastic space for us to be in today. This is a great room to learn in and to get to know each other in. And also the FBI and the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners, which are our speaker sponsors today. We're very blessed to have a moderator that if you've come to BBB events before, we're all very familiar with, Ron Warner. He is, an absolute local expert, a go-to guy when it comes to anything related to cybersecurity. Ron is a noted speaker. He's a writer in the security industry. He currently is an instructor at Bellevue University teaching a new generation of cybersecurity professionals. He has over 20 years of corporate experience in IT and security. Has worked for, just to name a few, HDR, TD Ameritrade, ConAgra Foods, Mutual of Omaha, CSG Systems, and the state of Nebraska, so please no job offers until after. He earned his BS in computer science from Michigan State University and his MS in information resource management from Syracuse University. He is a certified information security professional and certified ethical hacker. That sounds strange. Right, so I hacked you, but it was ethical. He has also earned the Toastmasters Advanced Communicator and Leader designations. He loves to talk to others who are passionate about leadership, security, and privacy. And so I think that's all the information that Ron provided, but I will tell you this about Ron. The thing that I think is so exceptional and really extraordinary about him is that, clearly you can just see by the small piece of his resume here how busy and how in demand this man is. He is so generous with his time and is willing to do anything, take time out of an incredibly busy schedule to do things like this, to be at the BBB doing podcasts, anything that he can do to get useful information into the hands of the business community and the consuming public that can help them, somehow find a way to roll up our sleeves and have some defense against what we know is just sort of an ongoing assault that becomes more sophisticated by the day. We get attacked in our personal lives, our private accounts, and as business owners and managers and employees, it's frightening. To think about what we have to navigate that space, and so we're here today to help you hopefully get a little bit more comfortable doing that and understand some of the cautionary things that you need to be aware of so that your data and your businesses are safe and protected from losses. So Ron, here you go.
We are in the midst of cyber war. It is alive and well. There are nation states going after us, as Jim mentioned, consumers, as businesses. No one is too small. So we can't stand for complacency. We need to get the word out. We need to continually educate ourselves on all the different topics. And this morning is about business email compromise, or BEC. We'll be answering the question, what one security measure should you be defending against? Tips for protection, and then tips for response. Oh my gosh, I just got hit. What do I do? Who do I talk to for this? At this point, I'm going to turn the podium over to our first speakers. We have another group here in town, and they're also an international group called the Association for Certified Fraud Examiners. And we are blessed today to have the local chapter president with us, Eric Rodriguez. Eric is a 36-year veteran in the prevention, detection, and control of fraud and the financial crimes risk management. He's currently at Nelnet down in Lincoln, where he's responsible for the generation and validation of new approaches to detect and prevent fraud, waste, and abuse. He serves as the company representative for groups and associations focused on domestic and international experience with fraud. This happens all over the globe. Eric's certifications include a certified fraud examiner, certified financial crimes analyst, privacy specialist, and certified control specialist. Needless to say, Mr. Rodriguez is passionate about mitigating fraud. Today, he will dive deeper into business email compromise, ATO, and I think he'll explain what ATO is, and spoofing, 5 steps to compromising email, how to recognize the spoofing, the types of the schemes, real examples, and tips to prevent. Mr. Rodriguez, please come up and continue to educate us on how to protect ourselves from these types of frauds. Ladies and gentlemen, Eric Rodriguez.
You guys hear me okay? As Ron mentioned, I'm with the ACFE, and we're really happy and glad to be working with BBB here. This is really a topic that most of us don't realize how important it is. It happens to everyone. Most people think when they look at business email compromise is, it's not going to happen to me, or they're usually going to target a large company or mid-sized company, not a small company. But that's not correct. They actually target everyone, whether you're a small company or a large company. And as Jacob mentioned, they go after you personally as well. I'm going to go through spoofing and account takeover. ATO is account takeover, which is business email compromise. So let me go through the 2 different stages there. With ATO, account takeover, they're basically actually hacking your account, your email account, or your business account, or your personal account. That means that they're actually going in and they have your password, they have your username, and they go in there and they have access and they start sending out emails on your behalf. How do they do that? Well, they gain this information a lot of different ways. It could be through phishing. They'll send you an email. How many times have we received an email saying, hey, can you click this link because you've been hacked? Or this is your bank, we need additional information. Can you click this link to add additional information? Most of us are smart in that aspect because we see it a lot, we know about it. But how many of us get text messages or emails from our friends because they're away on vacation or they're somewhere and say, hey, something funny really happened, I gotta show you some pictures. They click on it and they have a link there. How many of us receive that type of email? How many of us click on it? Honestly, be honest. If it's from a friend of yours, it's coming from somewhere. Okay. A lot of us probably won't because we're very suspicious in nature, but the majority of people will click on that email. Okay. So now, the difference between that and spoofing is not your actual email account. As Jake mentioned, it's going to be an email account that looks like yours. So, like mine will be eric.rodriguez@nelnet.net. So they may have it at nelnet.com, or instead of spelling it N-E-T at the end, they'll put N-I-T. How many of us are going to actually look at that email and go through each and every line and make sure that it's spelled correctly? None of us will. So that's one of the things you want to be very careful about when you get these spoofing emails, to take a look at them, to make sure that the writing is correct on there. Now, both methods are dangerous. Spoofing is easier. The ATO account takeover or BEC is much more difficult because they have to actually get access to your email account. They have to actually get access to your username. But I'm going to show you that that's very easy as well. Okay. So how do we get this information? One of the easiest ways is social engineering. How many of us know what social engineering is? Good, wow, majority of us. So social engineering is an excellent way of getting information. I can actually go out and I'll call you and I'll pretend to be someone else. And I'll pretend to get that information from you. So, If these BEC scams, on the email, they pretend to be the CEOs. On voice, they can pretend to be your husband, your wife, or a business partner, and try to get that information. I'm going to show you an example of how easy it is to actually social engineer and change someone's account. And it's going to be like a 2-second commercial, and we'll bypass that in a minute.
So I invited a few of the world's best hackers to try to hack me and show me where my vulnerabilities are. And now I'm going to meet them in Las Vegas for DEFCON, the biggest hacker convention of the year. They're going to hack me using social engineering, which is essentially hacking without any code. They just use a phone and an internet connection.
You want to do a sample of phishing call?
What's phishing?
Phishing is voice solicitation. And basically, what you do is you use the phone to extract information or data points that can be used in a later attack.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Who are you going to call?
Maybe I'll call your cell phone provider and see if I can get them to give me your email address.
I bet they're good. I bet they have my back. But yeah, go for it.
I'm going to spoof from your number, so it's going to look like it's calling from you.
Okay.
So spoofing means they're using the same phone
Sorry,
number,
can
it
you
looks
hear me
like.
okay? My baby, I'm sorry. my husband's like, we're about to apply for a loan and we just had a baby and he's like, get this done by today, so I'm so sorry, I can't call you that. I'm trying to log into our account for uses information and I can't remember what email address we used to log the account. The baby's crying and, can you help me? Awesome.
In just 30 seconds,
At gmail.com?
Jessica gets access to my personal email.
I needed to add our neighbor daughter on our account so she could call in and make changes. How would I need to go about doing that? You would have to send me a secure PIN through a text message? Yeah. Well, the thing is, I don't think I'll be able to receive a text message if I'm on the phone. Oh, I'm not on there either? So I thought when we got married, he added me to the account.
Jess uses my girlfriend's name and a fake social security number
5127.
to set up her own personal access to my account.
Wait, I'm sorry, so there's no password on my account right now? Can I set that up?
She even gets the support person to change my password.
Thank you so much for your help today.
So she just basically blocked me out of my own account.
I'll get her that. All right, thank you.
Well, as we can see how easy that is and how easy that was. One of the things we got to remember, especially with social engineering, when you're speaking to someone, is you're speaking to another person, another human. So you got to remember, you call a call center. Who's going to pick up that phone? What happened to that individual that day? Maybe they had a bad day at home. Maybe they had an argument with their wife, their husband, or their significant other. Maybe they just have a lot of stuff on their mind. Not everyone's going to be 100% when you call in and ask to, get this information, do the verification. They may have gone through something similar. Maybe they have a baby as well, at home, and they realize, oh, poor lady, and they'll help them. So they prey on your emotions for this. So you have to be really, really extremely careful. Social engineering is a great way of getting that information. I mean, how many of you have seen the late night TV talk shows? I can't remember who it was that was on there, but it was one of them.
Jimmy Kimmel?
Kimmel, yeah, where he went around and tried to get people's passwords, They went around and asked, hey, what's your password? Well, you won't get my password. Well, at least give us some hint. Well, it's my dog's name, And then he'll continue talking about it. He goes, oh, well, yeah, I got a dog too. She's a Great Dane. She's great. Her name is Paris. What's your dog's name? My dog's name is Nick. So now I have it. So you got to just be patient and be confident, and you'll be able to get this information from just about anybody. Let me move back to the slide. So, as you can see, it's really, really pretty easy to get this information. So you have to be on your toes. It could be via email, it could be via social media. Now, 5 steps on how they actually compromise your email. On this one, they're going to gain access. How are they going to gain access? We saw one point there, where they actually can do social engineering. Other ways can be through getting emails and getting links on those emails. You want to be very careful when you receive an email from someone. Are you expecting that email? If you're not expecting an email from someone and they have a link on it, I would delete it and get rid of it because you're not expecting it. Even if you're expecting an email from someone, most of the times they're not going to have a link to go to a specific location. They're gonna give you that information. They're gonna give you a file, Excel file. They're gonna give you a Word document. And even on those, hopefully you have a good technical group that they're gonna scan that and make sure that those documents themselves don't have some sort of malware on them as well. Other ways that they can get it is, how many of you are familiar with the dark web? The dark web is where you can buy information. So you can actually get your email compromised. It could have happened last year, it could have happened 6 months ago, and they're not using it, so you're like, okay, this was not, you accidentally clicked on a link, and you're like, oh my God, is this the wrong thing? And then you realize, okay, nothing's happened. 3 months go by, nothing's happened. 6 months go by, nothing happened. They're probably holding that information and they've sold it to someone in the dark web, so now your information is out there, and then you can go out there and purchase it. I'm going to tell you something about the dark web. They have better marketing, better packaging than we do in professional businesses. I mean, you can go out there and you can go out and buy packages that will give you, email accounts, birthdays, social security, credit card numbers, everything that's linked. And I mean, they even have customer service that you can call and they'll help you with this. And they're better than our customer service. So you really, really have to be careful, because that's another way that they can get that information. So if you think you've been compromised, you want to report it, even if you don't see that anything has happened. Another way, Jacob mentioned that, you want dual-factor authentication. You want to be able to make sure that, hey, it is you. But you want to be careful about that as well. You want to look into it, how you get that dual-factor authentication. In this case, someone went and tried to hack the Gmail account. So when you go into Gmail and you sign up and you sign in and it's not the right password, it says it is a valid password, you keep trying and keep trying, and it says, okay, it's wrong, do you want me to send you a code, a PIN code? Well, you mark yes. That will send a code to you saying, here's your validation code. What these hackers do is they attempt this, they send the code out, and once that goes out, about 2 seconds later, they'll send you an email that looks, not an email, but another text to your phone that looks just like the Google one saying, we believe your account may have been compromised. Please verify that it was you. You should be receiving a PIN from us. Please enter and reply to that PIN. So what they're doing is they get the PIN sent to you, and then you're forwarding it to them. Now they have that PIN. Now they can change your password. So you want to make sure, even if you're using some sort of two-factor authentication, that it's coming from a legitimate site. So you want to see where it's coming from. Typically, if they send you this PIN code, it's for you to enter in their website, not for you to send back. So you want to be pretty cognizant about that. You want to establish, the second step is establishing account controls. Once they have that control, once they have that password and they get in, they can do many things. They can start forwarding your email, just like Jacob showed, where they were sending emails that looked like it was coming from Jessica, I think her name was, or Cindy. And it's coming down, it's really not coming from her, it's coming from someone else. Once they have access to those emails, they can actually send those emails out to you. And they look like legitimate emails because they are from your business associates or from your friends. So authentication is important. I always say call. There's nothing like calling. You know the person's phone number, or if it's in your office, take a walk. You get bonus points for that, don't you? And just go and say, hey, was this you? Did you send that? So that way you can identify that that individual was actually sending that to you. Otherwise, you open yourself up for potential compromise there. The third step is they conduct what they call recon. What does that mean? Well, like Jacob mentioned before, they're going to be looking through your emails. And they're going to be saying, what are they talking to? Who are they talking to? Okay, now I know they're speaking to Mark. And Mark happens to be the accountant, the ones who sends out and gives permission to send the wire transfers out there. So they'll be reading your emails, looking at it, saying that, okay, Mark is going to be doing some business deal. He's about to close on it. He's going to need money. So when they read that and they see that, that's when they're going to utilize that time. They're going to send that email out from Mark saying, okay, I closed it, I need the money, send it here. Okay. One of the key things in red flags you want to look at is when they ask you to send funds out, typically in your business, you're going to have an account already set up for that. You're going to have some sort of business account with the email, or business account where the funds are going to be transferred at. If someone's asking you to change that information, that's the first red flag. Not that it won't happen, it could happen, and it could be legitimate, but it's a red flag, it's something you should look at. If someone's asking you to change the financial information from what you've already established and you already have set up, that's a red flag. Second one would be if it happens right away after that email. So if you know that they're going to close it, and Mark sends that out to you, says, we're here, we're about to close it, I'll get back to you. And all of a sudden, really quickly, you get that response, yep, it's closed. I know we're all good in business, but we're not that great. So you want to make sure that you verify that information. The fifth step is that they're going to execute what they call targeted email attacks. So once I get into your email account, I have access to all your contacts. That means I can get into there, send them emails, I can send them links, I can fish to them, I can get their information, and now I have access to their information as well. And as I mentioned before, many times they won't utilize this information right away. They're just going to sell that information onto the dark web. How many of you, I'm just kind of curious, have had an attempt happen to you? How many actually went through the whole process and got caught? Okay. I mean, it's very interesting what can happen. I was going to say this one for the end, but I want to bring this up now. I'm the president for the Association of Certified Card Examiners, so a lot of times I'll go to conferences on behalf of, my chapter. And a lot of times we do we're a nonprofit organization, so we do a lot of donations as well. We do donations for schools, for students who want to get into the fraud field. We do donations to the nationals as well. So here I am. I went out. We had a conference. Of course, it's in Vegas. So we go out there, and I'm in the conference. I'm in the chapter meeting out there. And one of the things I always told my treasurer is, if you ever get any requests for any money from any of us, you need to call us. You need to say, hey, please verify that this is you asking for funds. And she's like, okay. I won't mention names, and she's an FBI agent, so she's good at this too. She's very cautious. So I'm out there, we're in a meeting, all of a sudden I get a text. And I look at it, and it's from her. She goes, hey, I hate to bother you. I know this time you're in your meeting right now, but you said to bother you. And I answer back, I'm like, yeah. She goes, well, I thought you took the check for the donation for the ACFE, but you just told me you forgot to send me the money. Oh, no, I didn't. So these guys actually followed me, meaning through social media on our website, saying, hey, we're having this function. It's here. This is what we're doing. And knew every step of the way where I was going to be and what was going to happen. And if it wasn't for the diligence of our secretary following through, we would have probably sent that money out. So think about it. It can happen to anyone. I'm in the anti-fraud field, and they know that. And they went after me, which would have been great, because if they got through it, wow. What message did they send out there? So you really, really have to be careful, regardless who you are, what you know. They're not picking on you because you don't know anything. You could know everything, and they're going to pick on you as well. So you have to be very diligent about that. Okay, once they get that information, the last piece is it's completed. They have the details, and they're going to utilize it. They're going to take your money. Or if they're not, they're going to start accessing the other accounts from the other individuals that are out there. Okay. So spoofing, we talked about spoofing. We said how different it is. How do you recognize what spoofing is? As I mentioned, many times it's going to be off by one digit on what the email is. Or sometimes it can actually make it look just like the email itself. But it's actually going somewhere else. So what you want to do is you want to go into what's called a header, the email header. In Gmail, if you all look in Gmail, you open up a letter, there's always like reply, then there's like 3 dots that are in the top. If you hit those 3 dots, it allows you to open up the header there, and it's going to show you the information of who actually sent it. So you're going to look in there, and it's going to show who it's from. So if it looked like it was from me, but it was really coming from Russia, it's going to have the .ru, is it, that's at the end there? And you'll be able to see that, and you'll know that it's actually not coming from you directly. In Outlook, which most of us use, you can go into File and Properties and do the same thing. So whenever you're kind of suspicious about someone sending you something, this is a great way to go out and look to see, is it a spoof email? If it's not a spoof email and it's an account that's actually been compromised, then the next level would be you want to check by verification, doing that 2-factor authentication to make sure that it's yours. So did everybody get this, understand how to look at that? Because that's important. Always make sure you look at those headers. Those headers are going to give you a lot of information. And when you do get a spoof email, one of the things that you want to do is, if you're suspicious about it, keep that email. Do not reply to it. Do not forward it. Because many times when you do that, you lose the header information. And when an organization like the FBI is looking at that, they want to have that information. So you want to preserve that. So it's important that you preserve that information for them. That way they can track that. If you don't, and you forward it or you reply to it, you're going to lose that information that they need. Okay, types of BEC attacks, we went through a lot of them. Jake has gone through some of them here as well, Jacob. But you have the invoice schemes that are bogus. They'll send out an invoice saying, hey, change it or wire it here instead. One of the good things that I can give you, and I can tell you what we did with our group, is we set up specific ways of how to wire. We said, here's our list of vendors who we do business with. Here's their account numbers. Here's their routing numbers. This is what we always use. This is where we always send it. So anybody requests for money that needs to go out quicker, they go to the same accounts. If they don't, that's a red flag. It's got to be signed off by someone. So the individual won't just go out and send it. They have to get the next level to sign off and say, yeah, this is okay. So procedures and policies are very important that you put together and you establish. So if you have anything that you're going to wire, have them ready, have them set. If there's any changes in them, have that backup plan, or you have to get that second sign off on it. And this way, if you do this, more than likely, they won't be successful on that. We talked about CEO fraud scams. CEOs are one of the best ones because most people will just respond to them and say, yeah, okay, he's a big boss, he's the one who runs the shop. You're going to respond to them, especially if it's coming from his email and it looks like it's from his. But you want to, anyway, validate that. And they'll appreciate that. What you have to establish within your company is you have to have acceptance from the top down. And that's very important to establish. Because if you have your executive, your C-suite saying, yeah, this is correct, this can happen, and they're buying into it, everyone else is going to buy into it as well. I remember when I first started with my company 7 years ago, I found that one of the things they didn't do is they didn't do periodic sweeps through the company, walking through the desk walkthrough to see someone leave a password, did they leave their social security number of one of the clients behind, or if they leave their laptop when they shouldn't, it should be locked up. So one of the things they did was I instituted that. And we walked around and we did, brief checks, and you'll be surprised how many times if you lift up that keyboard, there's a password, the username, because people sometimes forget to leave it there.
Not with any of these people.
Oh, no, definitely not. I've seen it with people in my group and fraud who've done that, and they get mad. You'll also find that people leave laptops. Laptops now, of course, back then they weren't as secure. Now you can encrypt them, but a lot of places don't encrypt them as well, so you have to be very careful. So I started taking the laptops from everyone, and the CEO would leave the laptop all the time, and people were like, I'm not taking it, I'm not taking it. I'm like, you gotta take it. No, I want my job. I'm like, well, it is your job to do it. So I would do it, and I would hopefully pray that I wouldn't get in trouble and get fired. But he accepted it, and he said, yeah, that's right, you were good. You should have done that. I shouldn't have let you resign. So you want to institute those type of policies. Account compromise schemes is kind of similar to the other two. It's more with invoice payments. So that's similar. Let's see. Okay, attorney impersonation. This is pretty big. You get it with real estate companies, like Jacob mentioned. You also get it from attorneys saying that they want money right away based on a case or a settlement. I know we do a lot of settlement type cases, so we receive those a lot. You want to verify those because many times it'll come through, it'll look like a legitimate email like we mentioned before. It'll have all the logos from the company, but it's not. So you want to verify those. Data theft. That's a big one. Sometimes they're not looking for you to just get your account information and utilize it right away. They want to steal information. W-2s, as Jacob mentioned, is important. That's going to have a lot of detail. It's going to have social security number, names, addresses, all your tax data that's on there. HR is a big place, people services, where they're going to get information. That's going to have all PII information out there as well. So personal data is something that you want to take into account and be very careful with. In today's society, it's usually Social Security that's important, but how many of you are familiar with the GDPR that went into effect this year? Okay, it's the European Union's new privacy regulations. They are very much more strict. You can have an email account, and an email, just the email, so my email, that would be considered a breach. Okay? You can have just a date of birth, or you can have an IP address where someone signed on, that would be considered a breach. And we think they're strict. Our laws are starting to change that way. Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New York, and a couple of others are following suit with this as well. So that's something you want to be careful with, because a lot of us think about, oh, I'm not going to worry about that. The U.S. laws are changing as well, so you may have data, you may have customers that live in these states. And if you lose that email or you lose that account number, and it could be an account number like a checking account number, it could be an account number like a loan number on its own, it's considered a breach. So if something happens where there's a big ring that takes this money and they do an investigation and they find out, the breach occurred here, you're going to be liable for that. Your company's going to be liable for that. So you want to put policies and procedures into effect to make sure that you know that all information is considered PII. As you saw, the lady who called in and got the email changed. Email's important. Once I have that email, that's a key. I can start getting into other financial avenues. I can start going through cross channels from the bank account to the credit card to your mortgage to your real estate. So that's all you need, is you just need that one piece of information. Okay, I gave you the example of I was out of town. Another one I'm going to give you is human resources, an example. We had a situation occur to us as well. Someone called in, asked, how to change the routing number or whatever as a new employee. And of course that's part of the package, so it's out there. It's out on the web. So they utilized that form and they submitted it to change an employee's checking and routing number, saying, hey, I want to change it to this account number. And of course they get it and they change it, and payroll comes and we get a call from an employee saying, I get paid. Hey, no, we didn't. And you look into it, we found out that it was changed. There was a form written out, had the information in there, and they changed it. Because they were not prepared for that in human resources. We are in fraud, we are in accounting, we are in these different areas. You gotta teach everyone, every department, human resources as well. I mean, they submitted this, and there were some red flags. They did it via email. They spoofed the email. My first red flag was had the person's name, everything correct, but the very end was not correct. It wasn't the correct email. The second thing was, the writing was atrocious. You're from another country, it's really difficult to write correctly. I mean, I'm not the greatest writer, but you can tell the difference between my writing and someone who's never written English before. So there's some big red flags there that you want to look at. Other things was the account that they sent it to, that they changed it to. I looked at the routing number. It was a green dot card. Are we familiar with green dot cards? Those are ones that you can go out, you can buy, Walgreens, different places, and you can have money transferred in there. Okay. Typically, yes, a lot of people do have green dot who are non-banking, and there's a lot of non-banking people in Nebraska, but you don't see the banking community moving from banking community to non-banking to those green dots. So that's another red flag that you will see there. Someone moving from, I have a checking account, now I'm going to a green dot card. You can start out that way and that's fine, but usually they'll go back down the other way. So if you get requests from human resources for changes, you want to verify those as well. You know what a great verification would have been for something like that? Just respond to the email at the address, or the business address of that associate. Say, hey, we received your request to change your routing and checking number for your payroll distribution. It'll happen in about 7 days. Just want to make sure and confirm it's correct. That would have stopped it, because he would have gotten that email. I didn't change it. So you want to have some sort of verification, two-factor of some sort. Oh, one important thing, IC3, it's very important to report that to it. I can't stress that enough. It's the Internet Crime Complaint Center. Even if it's small, like Jacob mentioned, there may be a $50,000 limit or $60,000 limit. Your small one may be part of that ring that pushes it to that limit, and then they can get it. So always make sure you please, please, please report everything. It's so important. Thank you.
Thank you.
Education comes down to, if you see something, say something, trust but verify. We have some additional stories to share with you this morning. Two business leaders from right here in our area who had this happen to them and their company. As was mentioned by our speakers, it can happen to anyone. I am pleased to first present Mr. Peter Fink, President of Certified Transmission and member of BBB's Omaha Board of Directors. Mr. Fink, please come up, share your story on what happened with business email compromise.
All right, thank you very much. Very informative. I can see possibly where we might have been in that six-way triangle or whatever, possibly when gotten hit. And then definitely the second part. I was out of town. It was a wire transfer to my CFO. Usually, before I knew anything about cyber, I'm pretty hard to get rid of my money, okay? I mean, it's my money, we worked hard, and so I was always pretty safe on it. Truthfully, I never did wire transfers, okay? Matter of fact, don't even know how to do one, okay, and stuff. I've never let anyone in accounting ever handle money or sign a check or do wire transfers either. Basically, I've always let my wife handle it, okay? So people didn't know that, okay? So we were out of town, and I'm also pretty leery of posting when I go out of town. I do it after the fact. I never do it while I'm on, and I really ask my friends, don't post that I'm with you, okay, if I'm out of town. I really don't like people knowing that. But somehow, I was out of town, okay, me and the wife, and my CFO got an email that looked like it was from me, okay? And he gets notice afterwards because my wife does them, okay? And I do wire transfers for, if you guys know me, I have a lot of collectible cars, so I buy cars and everything and stuff. And so somebody, while we were out of town, sent an email to my CFO that looked like me, spoofed it in my email, basically, one letter different, okay, and said, hey, I just bought this car, please wire transfer this money to this routing, okay? And my CFO was really leery. He goes, well, I know Pete buys a lot of cars, okay, but first of all, I've never done a wire transfer, okay? Not saying he couldn't get it done, but he was never even set up to get the second authorization from the bank and all that kind of stuff like they were talking about. And so, lo and behold, he happened to call my wife and said, is Pete buy a car? You guys are out of town. Did he buy a car? You want me to do a wire transfer? She goes, no, Pete didn't buy a car. No. And so then we turned it over to the FBI and started working and stuff like this. Because we've been hit many times on this, okay, and stuff. And so somehow, like you said, they're tracking you and they're knowing what's going on. They're laying in the woods. I mean, and again, it's no secret, I host a lot of charity events and things like this about cars, and I have a lot of collectibles. But we've gotten hit for paying vendors, we've gotten hit for equipment purchases, we've gotten hit for a lot of things, okay? The good news is, I never do any of them. I don't even know how to do a wire transfer, and they usually always come from me, and it's my wife on the backside. Now, if they ever figure that out, we'll probably be more in trouble. All right? So, that's one way. I'm going to talk about a couple other ones. I'll make it real quick because I know we're short on time. We didn't get lost on that one, okay? But a number of years ago, and I've always been leery about credit cards, always been leery about taking numbers over the phone and security and all this stuff. We have a used car lot. And this goes back a long time ago. So, and you know what? We didn't really cover it with them and said, no, we don't do that. At Certified, we don't do that, okay, and stuff. I won't take your numbers or blah, blah, blah over a phone, okay? And the good news is most people aren't really buying a transmission that way anyway. But regardless, we do get requests to ship them. Okay, so they approached my used car. They got a serial, a credit card, gave them one, verified it, got a verification code for 15, 20 grand on this car. Hey, and ship this car to New York. Well, that should have been the first clue, okay? Well, they didn't ask nobody. The carrier showed up like they were supposed to, picked up the car, and then lo and behold, about 15, 20 days later, guess what? That credit card was stolen, and we didn't get paid. So we got scammed out of a car, okay? Second one at my used car lot is we had somebody copy certified check. You think certified checks are good, okay? And we got check readers at all our places to verify that the checks are good. And I always thought, oh, well, if it goes through there and the bank says, yeah, it's good, okay, it's good. I mean, how can you get more safe than that, I would think, okay, and stuff, all right? This took certified check, read it, yep, went through, bank said it's okay, supposedly the money's going to our account, okay? They take the car, we release the car. Guess what? A day later, the bank calls us and says, that check is not a proper certified check, okay? And it looked real, it went through the bank reader, everything. We got the Omaha police, it was a ring out of Kansas City, we did get the car back, okay? So anymore, we don't even release a car on a certified check, okay, and stuff, all right? So they're copying that. Talking about checks, they've copied our local checks that we signed somehow. We've been frauded that way. Again, not lost any money, but they've been copied, okay? And so we've got to deal with our bank setup. They do not cash any check. We have to send them a list of what the dollar amount is and who the vendor is, okay, and stuff. It's called positive pay or something like that. We do. And now we've just gotten hit for monster amounts, like $250,000 checks on our computer checks printed, that we print ourselves with a magnetic strip. Some ring has copied those on the computer checks, okay? And we've just seen some that said they were for equipment purchases down in Florida and across seas. And we do business across seas also and buy stuff and different things like this. And the last one that I'm going to say is, again, on checks. Somebody at FedEx was intercepting all their checks, and it was one of our checks, and changed FedEx name to a different name, and actually the dollar amount was correct, it was our check, but they crossed out the name to something else to try to cash the check. So there's lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of fraud going on out there. All I can say is you got to be on your toes, okay, and stuff. You got to have a great relationship with your banks and anything. And all I can say is, oh my God, you better do a double, triple, quadruple phone calls, this, that, and the other thing on any time any money is going to be transferred, okay, and stuff. So that's kind of my experience.
Being so open as to what has happened to you in certified transmission. We have one other speaker, Mr. Steven Swanstrom, who's the interim president and CEO of Centris Federal Credit Union, and also on the BBB's Omaha Board of Directors. Mr. Swanstrom, sorry. Please come up, share your stories with us as we continue to learn.
Thanks, Ron. Thank you all. Yeah, so I was asked to share some examples of email scams or compromised emails, but as a local financial institution, as the earlier speakers mentioned, you don't have to be a large organization to be a victim of this. We're local. We aren't a big First National, we aren't Wells Fargo, and yet we have everything that these gentlemen have talked about happen to either our credit union or to our members. We've had members that have been scammed by the romance scam. The scammers have gotten their bank information to our credit union, and those individuals have sent money or attempted to wire money to various locations. A lot of it seems to be overseas, as Jake mentioned. We have controls in place, we have software in place that helps to try to protect those members, but unfortunately we can't catch everything, and it costs the credit union about $25,000 a month in fraud losses. So whether it's bad checks, like Peter talked about, whether it's these scammers, whatever the case may be, we lose about $25,000 every month due to these things, and that's even with controls in place. So we have members that get upset because we'll put check holds on. They'll say, why can't I get my money now? Well, we may not know you, we may not trust the check. It may look like a certified check, but maybe it isn't. It's for your protection. So I ask, as a consumer, with whatever your financial institution is, anytime that they put check holds or you get a call from your credit card company, anything like that, it's not to inconvenience you, even though it may feel like it. It truly is to protect you and make sure that you aren't being taken advantage of. So be patient with your financial institution, because as we've learned this morning, bad people are everywhere, and they're always trying to find new and creative ways to take advantage of you. Examples I'm going to share are, I have 3 just in the last 30 days, but I want to give a CEO fraud scheme really quick. A few years ago, we were buying a parcel of ground for a new branch, and how these people find this stuff out, it is amazing. I mean, it's crazy. So I was out of town, and all of a sudden a person in our accounting department gets a spoofed email. Looks like me. My last name is Swanstrom, S-W-A-N-S-T-R-O-M. They changed the N to an M, so it looks very similar. And it had all the rest of our stuff in it, so they just changed the one letter. And it said, hey, we're getting ready to close on that parcel of ground. I need you to wire the deposit for the purchase to blah, blah, blah. And our individual was savvy enough to say, you know, Steve's out of town and he didn't tell me that I needed to do this. So they went to our CFO and said, did Steve say anything about we're ready to pull the trigger on this deal? He's like, no, let me text him real quick. So I get a text, hey, did you authorize this $50,000 down payment for the purchase of the land? I said, no, we're about a week or 2 away from that. Again, how these people find this stuff out is just crazy. And so he said, all right, just want to double check. And so they ignored it. But that's how savvy these people are, and it is scary, scary stuff. So the latest, the 3 examples I have just in the last 30 days, this was March 18th. So this one said, good day, we kept your payment pending. So this is going to be an invoice scheme. Since last week, because of wrong information we received. Kindly check and corrects. So there's plural. So again, they don't know English very well. the bank details. Please return it back to proceed the payment after confirmation. That doesn't make any sense. We also called you, but could not get you on the phone. Please correct the account number and send it back to us as soon as possible. It's got a little picture of an invoice with a link, so you're supposed to click on it. God knows what would have happened if I would have clicked on it. Obviously I didn't, but one of the things that, as they all mentioned, I looked at was, where is this coming from? And it says Joshua Barnett, but then the email address is kabrystone@yahoo.com. Well, that doesn't look like Joshua Barnett at all. So there's a red flag. The English is a red flag. The fact that it has some bogus invoice with a link, obviously a red flag. So that was just on March 18th. The second one is an example of, and let me see which one this is. Okay, so I met with a local real estate developer here in Omaha. Small company, locally owned. They have about a dozen employees, so it's not, again, a big company. And I had met with him in person and then followed up with an email saying, hey, thanks for your time, appreciate you meeting with me. Well, I get a response email. Again, this has his name on it, but the email address is brandyleo31@gmail.com. This was a gentleman, first of all, and his name was not Brandy Leo. And it has the exact email that I sent with my exact signature. We have our Centrist logo in there. We have our Best of Omaha in there. I mean, it's everything that I sent to him. And the response says, Steve, can I get a quick favor from you? And the I is in lowercase, so there's another red flag, right? I really hope you get this fast. Sorry for any inconvenience. I'm in a terrible situation. I'm stranded here, and I, again lowercase, don't have any money with me. I'm waiting for my colleagues to send me money, but they have not responded. Please let me know if you can help. I need iTunes card or Amazon card so I can sell it now and get some money or whatever amount, if not at all, question mark, period. I promise to refund it in full as soon as I get back home. Please let me know if you can help. Okay, what? I mean, there's all kinds of things. But again, this was piggybacked off of an email I sent to him. So I called him and said, hey, I think your email got hacked. He goes, yeah, we know. We've been working on this all morning trying to fix it. But this is an example of somebody on the receiving end of my email that got intercepted and they were hacked. So this isn't anything to do with Centrist. Okay, last one I got for you. This is a fun one. So we had a brand new employee that just had started. So this was on April 9th. This was just a couple weeks ago. I mean, this is all fresh stuff. It's crazy. So this comes from our board chair. And it has his name on there. But it says the email address is alexanio, A-N-I-O 007, James Bond, at gmail.com. So it's our board chair's name with that bogus email address. Apparently he thinks he's James Bond. And it's directly to our new employee. And it says, urgent task. Can you get this done ASAP? I need some couple of gift cards. I need some couple of, right? I think a kindergartner has better English than that. There are some listed clients we are presenting the gift cards. There are some listed clients we are presenting the gift cards. How quickly can you arrange these gift cards? Because I need to send them out in less than an hour. I would provide you with the type of gift cards and amount of each. Thanks. And our board chair's name. Again, new employee, board chair sending an email. Oh my God, I better do this quick. Well, thankfully she's savvy enough. She sent it to a whole group and included me on it and said, I received this weird email from Joe which doesn't appear right. I responded initially to see how I could help and received this subsequent request. How do you want to proceed? And obviously we told her, oh yeah, this is bogus. But you know, trying to influence a brand new employee with the board chair, it's like, oh my God, the board chair, I better do this or I might get fired. Holy cow. And this was just 2 weeks ago. So those are my examples. All of them are very, very different. One involves me personally, one involves a vendor I had met with, and one involves trying to piggyback off of or preying on a brand new employee using our board chairman as the bait. And there's some real life stuff for you. I'm sure all of you have seen or experienced similar activities, but just know that the bad guys are out there, as we've heard this morning, and hopefully these examples will help you to look out for new and innovative ways that they're trying to take advantage of us and our customers or our employees. So with that, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I appreciate it.